Hello friends, this is VASISTA GAYATRI ACADEMY. I am Dr. YVENUGOPAL. The present topic is about judicial activism. At the very outset, let's have a clear idea about judicial activism. In the very title caption, we can have the word that activism. That means activation on the part of judiciary in respect of administration of justice of all types for that matter. So in the administration, not only the administration of justice, but also the rule of law. And the activism and dynamism of the judiciary will be focused on another important thing, that is constitutionalism. The meaning of constitutionalism is nothing, is a spirit, ideals, the spirit of constitution, the ideals and aspirations of the constitution. These aspects are to be strictly adhered to, and the judiciary has to focus on these things. That is called constitutionalism, the second most important point in judicial activism. And the third point is the role of judiciary in administration of justice and the rule of law amidst these two divisions of the government. The government, as per the separation of powers, will be divided into three. Suppose on left one hand legislature, another hand executive. This legislature will be doing making laws, whereas the executive will be implementing, and this one is like head supervising both. Any bottlenecks in making the law, suppose any any defective, the laws or the legislations made by the legislature are fraught with any bottlenecks against the constitutional spirit, then the judiciary will check it. And at the time of implementation of the laws, the rules and regulations by the executive body, again there will also be some problem. There will be some vested interests or misinterpretations. Such type of things will also happen on the part of the executive. Again, the judiciary will have the check on it. So it is judiciary will play a crucial role between these two in respect of administration of justice and rule of law. And justice is not an ordinary thing. We have talked about administration of justice and rule of law. Justice is the very nature of justice. Now, I would like to tell you one important point about the nature of justice, the characteristic feature of the justice. That is, justice is sensitive and subtle. How sensitive it is. See, what is conceived to be lawful to you, may not be lawful to me. What is justice to you in your mind, in your view, may not be justice in my opinion. See, that is there. See, even for example, we take the example of our Supreme Court judgments or High Court judgments. See, majority will be considering and we think that this is the judgment. Okay, but there are dissenting opinions also. That means some judges will express their negative opinions. No, we don't think that it is justice. We don't think it is lawful. We don't accept. Thereby, what we can understand? We can understand that justice is very sensitive. What is justice? What is lawful to you? What is justice to you? May not be so to me or to others. And that is why tracing out justice is just like catching fish in sea waters. We can say that it is just like catching the fruit from the tall tree. How subtle it is. In the same way, justice is also very subtle to tracing out amidst a very hustle and bustle, very delicacies, sensitiveness of the concepts of justice. Providing justice to the society is really a challenging task, a challenging enterprise on the part of the judiciary. Now, I would like to tell you there are two challenges before judiciary regarding this justice. Number one, the legislature, which I referred to first. Now, legislature one side and executive on the other side. while observing the corrective justice, it has to look into that legislation, because legislation has every possibility for resorting to some injustice, some wrong, unjust activities, some negative things. For example, the legislature will pass the law. The retirement age will be extended to 62. Another government will come, no, not 62, 65. Another government will come and it says that 70 is the best policy. So what will happen? It is nothing but a serious injustice to the unemployed. So the judiciary has to check it. No, it is not fair on your part. Sometimes bills will not be, the legislature will the government will completely spend the amount, complete treasury for welfare activities, welfare schemes. There will be bankrupt. What will happen? Some citizen bills will not be paid, or the contractors. No, some people will be carrying out government contracts, and they are expected to receive money in time. Sometimes even after 6 months or 1 year, there will not be payment of bills from the government. So they suffer a lot. So such type of, then the government will interfere. The judiciary will interfere and check the legislation, and also the government. So that's one thing. And on the other side, executive. So the executive will also resort to some ill practices or malpractices, like arbitrary power, exercising arbitrary power, arbitrary action in respect of government employees or organizations or people, or sometimes corrupt activities the executive body will resort to. So the judiciary has to check on it. So this issue on both sides is relating to corrective justice. So here, the challenging thing, I told you that there are two challenging things before the judiciary. The first one is related to corrective justice in respect of both legislature and also this executive body. And another challenging thing is in respect of distributive justice. Suppose pill cases will be filed. You know pill very well. In the interest of the larger sections of the society, large people. Suppose injustice or social injustice or violation of fundamental rights, or against the fundamental rights of the Constitution, the spirit of the Constitution, at the cost of the rights. Suppose something is going on, either in the government or in the legislature or in the executive body, or by any officer, government officer, or agency. So pills will be filed. So this judiciary has to pay a lot of attention in case of pills, and if there is any legislative vacuum, for example, during our corona period for the last 2 years, central government has failed in providing all facilities, health facilities, medical facilities, rehabilitation facilities, etc. At that time, judiciary met the apex court, means the Supreme Court judges met together and they made some directions, some recommendations, rules and regulations they have passed. Accordingly, the central government have adapted and implemented. So that is when there is a legislative vacuum, the judiciary's responsibility is making the judicial legislation also. It is called judicial legislation in respect of distributive justice. So in respect of corrective justice and in respect of judicial justice, distributive justice, both are challenging things before the judiciary. And another important thing is the justice, in the administration of justice and in the observation of the rule of law, the judiciary has to face or sort out the conflicts, legal conflicts from two perspectives. Number one, a technical perspective, and another one is a juristic perspective. Technical perspective means suppose any violation of fundamental rights or human rights, or suppose a very serious hurdle to the DPSPs and Directive Principles of State Policy, and there is a serious social injustice caused to the marginalized section. A very special attention will be paid to marginalized sections of the people, underprivileged people. So all these are principles of constitutionalism. The spirit, the aims, aspirations, the goals of the constitution must be realized. If at all any violation in this aspect, that is called a technical perspective. So judiciary has to pay a very serious attention. That is another important aspect, that is a technical perspective. And from the technical perspective, former Justices P.N. Bhagavati and Krishna Iyer, Chinnappa Reddy, these justices have paid a lot of attention to this technical perspective of doing justice. And another one is juristic. That is, juristic means from the point of jurisprudence also we can think. That means whenever there is a conflicting laws, conflicting rules and regulations, the judiciary is expected to exhibit the judicial creativity. And this is a challenging thing, once again, because all laws more or less are based on our custom, because it is the first source of law. But on the other side, a very crucial thing is that custom versus human rights era, the period is. That means we are living in the human rights era. So human rights have gained their momentum nowadays under the sun across the world, everywhere, in almost all countries, and particularly in democratic countries. When such is the thing, it is really the judiciary has to sort out the conflicts, some issues, some legal issues from juristic perspective. For example, adultery law, based on the custom actually, first of all, but it has undergone a lot of change now with the advent of that latest law on adultery pronounced by the apex court recently. And the second one is latest one, Sabrimale case also. Women, as per tradition custom, not allowed, but apex court has permitted. The law has been completely changed. And in respect of regarding the rights, fundamental rights and human rights. Rights means always we have to think both in terms of fundamental rights and human rights. So regarding the rights of homosexual relationship and transgender relationship also, the apex court has gone to the extent of bringing a sea change, as we have been living in the era of human rights. So these two challenges in respect of corrective justice and challenge in respect of distributive justice, one thing on one side. On the other side, sorting out the conflicting laws and providing justice, administration of justice and the rule of law with a juristic perspective and technical perspective simultaneously on parallel lines. So these are the challenging tasks, challenging enterprises before the Indian judiciary. So judicial activism lies in these challenges and perspectives. So this is a discussion is based on some research outlook. Well friends, I think that you will receive it in a positive dimension. Thank you for watching.